Welcome to Kendo RANT. I know it's a bit of a different setup today. I've got a black background instead of a white one. Had like 500 Shiai turn up out of the blue yesterday. So they're all in my studio. So I'm doing this a bit impromptu. So let's get into the questions. Before I do so though, don't forget to shop at KendoStar. KendoStar.com, that's the website I run, of course. The best kendo equipment website in the world. Of course I would say that, but it really is fantastic. It's really great equipment. It's all designed and curated by myself specifically for the international kendo community. And it's all free shipping as well. So get to KendoStar.com and do your shopping there. Right, first one. This is quite a long question. My sensei recently retired from Shiai, except for the seniors division, due to recurring injuries that happen when he pushes himself to compete in other divisions. And it's got me thinking about, on the off chance that he retires from teaching, what would be a good gift? What I thought would be to buy a brand new set of bogi for the dojo, so he knew that we would be planning on taking good care of the place. We already have several loan out sets, but they're all very well worn, that people donated when they bought new sets. They might not have been particularly good to begin with. Back before I bought the Vanguard, thank you very much, and was using these old sets, it wasn't uncommon to come home with a bit of a headache for the rest of the day. Vanguard's a fantastic bogi set, I'm glad you like it. Given how bad these sets are, replacing any of them will be fine, but I got to wondering if the sizes simply don't if there were sizes that we simply don't have at the dojo currently. How much are pieces of bogi standardized for sizing? Is it mainly just S, M, L, XL men, for example? And do you determine the correct size from the measurement to custom supplies? And is it practical to measure the size of a men, or could they, after it's been made, to determine what the sizes our dojo has? Okay, so I'll tackle those two main questions sort of back to front. It's not so easy to figure out unless you're experienced with kind of kendo equipment. It's not really very easy to figure out what sort of size the ones at your club are. If I was able to look at them, I'd probably be able to tell you, but you need the sort of experience of knowing what to look for in terms of the sizes, so I think that's going to be a bit difficult. In terms of the actual sizes of the bogi, it depends on the sort of bogi set you go for. We actually have like loads of different sizes in stock for the in-stock bogi sets that we have. It's like 11 or 12 different sizes, so it's not just an S, M, L, XL thing. For some of the parts it is, though. For the door it's not so different actually. But like for the men and what have you, what we normally do if we're supplying a club set is we would we supply a lot of dojos around the world actually, and they normally come to us and say, we want 5 sets, we want 10 sets for our club, and can we trust you to choose the sizing out appropriately? And I'll send them a variety of sizes that are the most common sizes, that are probably, because there's a few sizes as well that are kind of, you can get away with if you're a little bit bigger, or if you sort of, you can use the, you know, if you've got bigger hands or smaller hands, you can use the in between size and still get away with it for a few practices whilst you're borrowing a bogi set before you get your own, if you know what I mean. So I've done that a few times before as well, but it isn't a case of just S, M, L, XL sort of thing. So it's a little bit difficult there in terms of figuring out what you've already got. But what I would recommend is, you know, if you do decide to get one for your club, just hit me up and we'll talk about what size is going to be best for you to get. But before I go any further on the next question though, just to loop back on that question, you're talking about how your sensei is like, first off, you say he retired from Shiai, except for the seniors, due to recurring injuries that happens when he pushes himself to compete in other divisions. I can totally relate to this, because as you get older, I'm not super old, but as you get, believe it or not, as you do get older, it does get a lot harder to compete with everybody else in the sort of more competitive divisions, unless you're frequently training all the time, and that it's taken up a large section of your life. It's been very difficult for me as well. Obviously I've got a family, I've got my wonderful wife and children, but I've got my business as well, KendoStar as well, which takes up a massive amount of my time because of how busy we are. So you know, I still manage to get to the dojo a few times a week, but it's not nearly the level that it was when I was was competing. So now it's much easier for me to get injured and stuff like that. And it happens a lot more often than I'd like it to. So I can understand where your sensei is coming from in sort of retiring from those tournaments and moving into a seniors division. But I don't imagine that it's quite rare that a teacher would retire from teaching. I'm pretty sure you don't have that to really worry about, at least not for the foreseeable future, unless he's extremely old. But even older sensei, I mean, lots of them, even when they're too old even to practice, they still come to the dojo and carry on helping with teaching. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. Obviously I don't know, but that's just my thoughts from reading your question. Right, next one. Does your dojo have any policies or procedures on addressing relationships among kendoka? Have you experienced any issues in this area? And if so, how were they dealt with? Looking forward to my Reiwa Tenugui coming in. Excellent. Okay, so you obviously bought the Reiwa commemorative Tenugui last week, which I mentioned in the video. I did a silly intro with it. And that was the limited edition Tenugui. We're totally sold out now. So unless we, by some miracle, we get some more in, well done for getting your hands on one of those. In terms of relationships among kendoka, no, my dojo doesn't have a policy on it. My dojo is an adult dojo that's, everybody's like kind of grown consenting adults. So it's not really my business as the teacher in the dojo to tell people who they can and can't associate with in whatever capacity that might be. I'd be a bit of a hypocrite to do so as well. I met my wife in the dojo. We started seeing each other after meeting through Kendo. So I know that it can cause difficulties, though. It does, of course, make things a little bit difficult, but it's certainly not the dojo's place to get involved. It's not like, there are places in Japan, there are like schools in Japan where the students aren't allowed. That's a kind of Kendo club policy that the students aren't allowed to have those relationships. I believe they still do, though. But I don't personally think it's something that we should be getting involved in with private individuals that have got they're their own people. It's none of it's none of the dojo's business, really. As long as they're not kind of. I mean, the only time I'd have a problem with it is if somebody's like, if they're like being inappropriate in the dojo during the practice time, in which case I'd just be saying like, look, can you leave that to not practice time? But yeah, that's it. Next one. I recently attended a taikai and one of my opponents, when in Tsubazeriai, used quite rude language, mostly swearing, and it got me thinking, if the judges hear it, is it grounds for hansoku, or can you get disqualified? What's the penalty for such behaviour in a shiai? No, he'd just taken a blow to the kote that hit him far up on the arm, so don't blame him if he felt the need to vent it, or that it might have been an involuntary response, but I felt a bit uneasy. I think we need to check the rule book, don't we? Oof. Okay, here I am. So it says, Article 16, Shiaisha are prohibited from insulting or acting offensively against the Shinpain or opponents. And basically, then if you go to the next page, which is section 2, Article 18 says, Shiaisha who has committed hansoku prescribed in Articles 15 and 16, which is the one we just mentioned, shall lose shiai and be ordered to retire from the shiai area, taijo. Whereas the opponent shall be given 2 points. The points or the status gained by the above loser shall be nullified. So it really is a very situational situation. Yeah. No, obviously it depends exactly what was said, all right? And it depends if the Shimpan then deem that action to be offensive towards either you or towards them. In which case, if they do, then they have the power to award hansoku under Article 16 and 18 and to disqualify him from the match. So it really depends on exactly what happened. If he was like kind of and sort of said it out this way, that's one thing. But if he was like, oh, you like this at you, then that's another. Without seeing the actual thing play out, it's very hard to tell. As a Shiai, somebody that does Shiai, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that, okay? If somebody hits you and misses the kodai, yeah, it hurts. You're doing Kendo though, so sometimes that happens. You gotta kind of suck it up and realize that that's part and parcel of the game. So if you can't take a shot on the elbow or something, then you might not be in the right sport. Certainly if you can't do it without sort of swearing and stuff, yeah, don't do that. It's not cool. It makes you look weak. I don't mean physically weak. I mean like it makes you look weak at Kendo. It means that Kendo's not doing its job on you. Okay, this is the last one. This one's from the Kendo Show Early Access group. If you're not in the group, there's a link in the description. Get in the group, man. Come on. It's a great place to post your questions. Obviously because I answer them on here, and but not only that, the community in that group is really, really great. It's made up of Kendoka from all around the world, so you get loads of different answers in it as well. Further, it's called the Kendo Show Early Access group because when I have a new instructional video, it goes in there before it goes anywhere else. The kata video that I did recently, that's pinned in there right now. I have got new videos coming. I've got a brilliant project. I'm not going to tell you about it, okay? It's the secret still. It's still under wraps, but I've got a fantastic project with the instructional videos that I'm working really hard on right now. So yeah, look forward to that. And if you want to see it first, you need to be in the early access group. So get in the group. It's free, of course. It's Facebook group. The link's in the description. Do senpais ever use carbon shinai? So he's saying senpais and the people in the group. Okay, so this person's addressing everybody in the group. Ever use a carbon shinai? I heard people talk about it gives a different feeling of weight and it hurts a lot when you miss a hit. Okay, so I have used carbon shinai a few times. There's a lot of sort of myths attached to them. Some that are true, actually, so they're not myths, actually. There's a lot of things said about them. Some of them are myths. Some of them are myths, some of them are not myths. One of the ones I find to be a little bit untrue is the whole it hurts more to get hit by one. But I'll go into that in a minute. The balance is generally dependent on which model you choose to buy. We don't sell them on KendoStar because I don't put anything on KendoStar that I wouldn't use myself. If you want a carbon shinai, or if you'd like to see them on KendoStar, let me know though, because I can indeed offer them. They're good for very dry climates where bamboo shinai suffer difficulties with durability. The carbon shinai was invented specifically for use by the Japanese school system that needed to have shinai that PE students who don't do kendo could use, and the school could use them without having to keep replacing shinai. So they're designed for people that aren't really kendoka. They're for people that are having to do kendo as part of their curriculum, their school curriculum, and they're not expected to carry on doing so. They're designed purely with that in mind in terms of for durability, really. So look, here's where I stand on them. If you're a beginner, you shouldn't use a carbon shinai, right? You shouldn't use one as a beginner. And the reason for that is it will not help you learn correct tenuichi because they're far too flexible. They don't react in the same way as the bamboo shinai do. They're very, very pliable, very, very flexible. So when you make a strike, they bend much more. They give a very different sort of feedback, and you'll find yourself learning a very not unusual, but an incorrect method of tenuichi if you practice exclusively with a carbon shinai, certainly at the beginning. Obviously later, it's not as much, that isn't as much of an issue. The myth that I believe is a myth of them hurting more when you get hit by them, I actually don't think that that's the shinai's fault. I think that's more to do with the fact that the people that use carbon shinai more often, how can I put this in a way that's not going to get me flamed? All right, carbon shinai are popular with people that hit very hard, because they break lots of shinai, because they're not executing correct tenuichi. Now, I've done a video about how to stop breaking your shinai. I did a Kendo rant about that. So if you're breaking lots of shinai, go and watch that, because it's probably something to do with your technique and not the Shiai itself. Or, you know, I honestly break very few Shiai. I'm not saying my technique's perfect, but I went through a phase of breaking a lot. And when I started to get a grip on correct tenuchi, once my tenuchi started to improve, I started to break less and less Shiai. And that's not because I started hitting softer. I still hit with power, but with correct tenuchi. Anyway, straying away from the point, I don't think that being hit by a carbon Shiai hurts more because it's a carbon Shiai. I think it hurts more because usually often the person using it isn't as kind of accomplished at striking, and that's why they're using a carbon Shiai. Because they're sick of breaking their Shiai when they really should be fixing their technique. What other thing did you ask about it? The other thing that people have said is that it gives you problems with your elbows. I'm not sure that that's super true either. I think that can happen with a bamboo Shiai as well. I've recently had tennis elbow actually, and I haven't used carbon Shiai at all in like more than 10 years now. So I think tennis elbow is one of the kind of common injuries in Kendo actually. But perhaps carbon Shiai would exacerbate it. I don't know. I'm not a medical professional, but in my experience, it wasn't caused by carbon Shiai. And when I used the carbon Shiai, I didn't get it. So that's that. So yeah, I don't recommend them personally. I'd avoid them. Frankly, you're better off sticking with bamboo Shiai. If they were really, really good, if they were really that good, you'd see them in the All Japan Championships, but you don't. So there's a clue, I think. So that's it. That's it for today. Did I say shop at KendoStar? I think I already did. I better not push that too hard. But do shop at KendoStar.com. Don't forget, do all the like, share, subscribe, all that sort of thing. Join the Kendo Show Early Access group. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you'd like me to rant about next time. I know I haven't had as many videos up as I certainly would have liked to. Honestly, I've been mad busy. We had a big event here in the UK at the weekend. I've got another big event this weekend. There's the European Championships this month as well. But I am doing my best to try and get more videos out to you. And I do have that fantastic project coming soon with the instructional videos. So keep your eyes out for that. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you all next time.